I think we're going to start. I was told that you need to put the channel on 0 in order to hear me over the microphone and the headphones and not in the room. So, good afternoon. Great to have you here, day 2, OMR. Hope you're all sober and ready for some living room action. He's not that sober, good. Anyway, we've got some great stuff for you ahead. 1.5 hours is quite a long time, so let me give you the cliffhanger up front. We have a quiz at the end, going to explain it. So it makes sense to stay at the end. We have some nice giveaways. So let's get into it. All eyes on the big screen. What do we want to do today? So we want to talk to you about a couple of things that are going on in the living room. I imagine you have a lot of pictures in your head, but what I'm talking about is media consumption. We did quite a sophisticated study beginning of this year, and we want to show you what kind of insights we got from consumers about the living room, about their media usage, and how you as advertisers, as agencies, as smart people can use that in order to make the best media investment decisions possible. So, it should click, but it doesn't. So let me do the old school way. This way. A little bit of a pre-roll up front. So if you're interested in the full study and the white paper that we just published, go to this URL, newlivingroom.tv. And also, we're looking for a couple of smart people, so if you're interested, reach out to us at the end. I believe you have some flyers on your chairs as well that point you in the right direction. Now, as I said, so we're going to have a quiz at the end. You need your mobile phone with it. It's with that nice Slido app on the slido.do URL. You don't need an app. It's Slido on the browser. And Sebastian will tell you later on how to do it in specifics. Now, let's jump right into it. Why did we do this study? Why did we try to investigate what's going on the living room? So first of all, I mean, all of you are in a masterclass. You're all masters of media. So you know that the world is quite changing a bit when it comes to media consumption. And one good indicator is obviously the advertising industry. And what we see at the end of the day is that there is a more, let's say, equal and balanced distribution of spends if you look across the big linear screen, the connected screen, and all of the online video screens. At the end of the day, what you can argue is that in Western Europe, where we are, the distribution is still very much in favor for the linear signal. But as a good indicator of what's going on and to understand that our big screen is changing quite a bit, it's always good to look at the US. And here we see a really more balanced view of advertising spendings being distributed across linear, across connected TV, and across digital. So this was the starting point for us to really think about how can we understand what's going on in our industry in a way that helps you to do the best investment decisions possible, and that helps us as publishers and broadcasters, as media companies, to really make the best out of the connections in the living room. So there are many moving parts in this ecosystem of ours. There's really an explosion of devices. I mean, everybody at least has one phone, one Nintendo, whatever. I mean, we have so many screens around us, right, each day. There's an explosion of content going on, right? So each one of you has the opportunity to watch more content in a day than probably your grandparents had in a lifetime. So if you want to spend your days with content, there's more than ever. And finally, there's more opportunities for advertisers to tap into those new platforms and new connections in order to reach consumers, which is pretty fragmented, but there's more and more opportunities. Now, for us, the starting point really was to understand what's holding these puzzles together. And if you look at it, they all have one common denominator, which is, at the end of the day, you. The consumer, the users, your media behavior is what drives this industry and what makes this industry puzzled about where to invest and how to reach you in your daily lives. So in this study, we really wanted to focus on the consumer, on the users, and try to find a way to grasp their media reality across Europe, and with that, the opportunities that arise for advertisers. So first of all, let's take a step back. We've just been out of a pretty crazy pandemic, and I think yesterday for everybody here was like, what the fuck is going on, right? 70,000 people in one place, is that even legal? But the fact of the matter is that this pandemic has, well, anyway, I'll try. This pandemic has really made us much more aware of our home. So if you look across Europe, as European consumers, they're spending a third of all of their disposable income on making their home more livable, furniture, devices, TV sets, whatever. So the home has really become, again, the central point for the families, for the living, right? And in that home, obviously, the living room is the gravitational center. And that's why we said, okay, we really want to have a close view on that space, on that living room. Because if you ask consumers, what does the living room mean to you, you get exactly that. We asked 8,500 consumers across Europe. It's the safe space, it's cozy, it's the place where I can relax, where I can have a good time and where I can enjoy. So actually, if you think about it, if you're from a media agency, if you're a media planner, it's the best situation in terms of getting in touch with that consumer. Because he's in a mood or she's in a mood that is really open to your messages. Now, if we take a closer look at that living room across Europe, what do we see? We see two bigger trends, or two bigger, let's say, directions how this living room has again become the center of our lives. So the first is, who has kids? Raise your hands. Yes, the living room is crazy, right? So whatever you do, it's happening in the living room. It's the family place to be. It's the place where all the fights, where all the loving, where all the hate, where all the arguments and all the joy happens at one point. That's for sure. But it also has become the new office, right? So how many people are working from home regularly now? How many of you are working out of your living room? Well, see, it has become the new office de facto, right? And what we saw in the studies, especially younger audiences, which I would suppose you are, the living room has really become a centerpiece in terms of your daily work, right? You spend a lot of time in that place. So concretely, this is what we did. We tried to really get an idea of what is happening in terms of media consumption in the living room on two dimensions. First, we went out and we had 18 very in-depth interviews with consumers in France, in Germany, and the UK to talk about what are you doing in the living room, what's the media types, send us some pictures, like really qualitative approach. And to verify that, we started a big quantitative survey across Europe in 10 countries, 8,500 respondents, to find out where's the beef, like what's happening in terms of media consumption and how can we tap into that as advertisers. What's your notion as a consumer regarding advertising, regarding connected devices, regarding addressable TV, etc. So we really tried to do a holistic view on what's happening in European living rooms. Now, if we jump in to the new life of the living room, I again would suggest that we take a little bit of a step back. So before we started to dig into what's happening in the living room, we really wanted to understand what's happening at home, right? So we asked a very simple questions to 8,500 people. So what's your, the three most favorite activities you do at home? Now again, there are, you have some thoughts about what these activities are, but de facto, more than half of the respondents said that watching videos is in the top 3 of all the activities you could do at home. Of all the things that you can think of, top 3 activity, watching videos. If you go to countries like the UK, like Norway, like Sweden. It's even more. It's over 60% claim that watching videos is one of the top 3 activities I do at home. Except in which country? This one, right? So gardening, cleaning, do-it-yourself is on top for the Germans, and watching videos is, I think, 4th place in that one. But video is a major part of our lives in the home, right? Now the question is, at the end of the day, where do we go when we want to watch video, right? So we again asked everybody, okay, so what is your go-to device? What is your go-to screen when you watch videos? Well, as you see, 75% of all the respondents came back, it's the biggest screen I have in the house, right? In countries like the Netherlands, it's even higher. It's the main center point of the household. Now we know the big screen is the screen for watching videos. Videos are what we do, like top 3 activity. The question is now, how much time do we spend with it, right? And there you can see that the big screen again is in the pole position because more than 60% of our video watching time we spend with the big screen. So it has really become, again, a main connection point for advertisers and brands to reach out to possible consumers. And that's why you get quotes like this from David out of France saying, you know, as soon as I'm in the living room, I turn on the TV, right? We'll talk about what's going on the TV and what TV is in a bit. But the fact of the matter is that, first of all, our home has really become, again, super important in terms of how much time we spend, how much money we spend on it. Within the home, we see that video is the dominant activity of all media activities. And thirdly, we see that the living room and the big screen in the living room is really the place to be if you want to reach consumers. And that, as you would figure, has accelerated dramatically through the pandemic. So we asked again our respondents in Europe, would you say that you watch more, that you use more the big screen and watch more TV than before the pandemic, or less? And what you see is 2 things. First of all, 1/3 of all the respondents claim that they now watch actually more. And the other thing is that the young target audiences, so the crowd here in this OMR event, actually over 35% claimed that they now use it more than before. So again, we see that the big screen has become, also for younger audiences, the centerpiece for video consumption. Now, if you look at that big screen, what can you say? Well, first of all, everybody has one, right? I mean, another nice question. Is there anybody who doesn't have a bigger screen in their homes? Okay, so what's the biggest screen then? A laptop or? Okay, but you're not living at home and your parents have it downstairs? It's like you don't have it at all. I don't have it, okay. So then you don't belong to the 92%, so you're 8% of the European population that we asked. So 92% have a big screen in the household. Of those 92%, 71% have connected their screen, and we will get to that with Sebastian in more detail later on, because that's a really important point. And now, during the pandemic, these big screens have been renewed. So over half of the respondents claimed that they bought a new TV set within the last 2 years. And from the younger target audiences, it's close to 70% that bought a new TV set in the last 2 years. So that means is you have now a lot of Europeans at home with big screens, except the ones that just raised their hand. And that screen is connected, and it is pretty new. And if you ask them then, those 92%, not you, what do you expect from your big screen, right? Like, so what is it, what's important when you look at the big screen? first of all, size matters. It needs to be bigger. So screens get bigger and bigger, which is an important point because it also means that your message gets bigger and bigger. But close to 40% say it needs to be bigger than the last one I had. Second, it needs to be better. It needs to have a better resolution. I mean, I can already claim I'm pre-HD generation. I know how television looks like in SD quality, right? But now we talk about 4K as a minimum standard when it comes to the screen and the quality of the message that you want to see. And finally, very important point, close to 40% say it needs to be smart. It needs to offer me, it needs to be more than just the lean back television we all knew. It needs to be a gateway to a lot more content and to a lot more experience. Right? And that's the point where we want to really dig into with Sebastian in a second. Because if you look at it, connecting your TV set, if you have one, to the internet is not a gimmick anymore, right? So again, a little bit of a poll here. So please don't raise your hand of the 8% that don't have a TV screen. Of those who have a TV screen, how many connected it to the internet in one way or another? Well, that's everybody, right? I just claim it's everybody. So, and that's the reality. So what you see is that 80% of all the respondents that we asked that had a big screen, of those 92%, right, have connected it to the internet. So that's not a future scenario anymore that you have the possibility to reach consumers with a digital message on the big screen. It is the reality already. About half, a little bit of a half, established the connection by using, Amazon Fire TV stick or some kind of stick or dongle to connect the TV sets. But it's very interesting that also the set-top box, and that's something we in Germany are not so familiar with, but if you look at countries like France or the UK, the set-top box, mainly from the telco providers, is something that is hugely distributed and connects the big screen to the internet, right? And that's really where the magic happens, because if you look at it, this new living room is full of opportunities, but also of challenges when it comes to reaching the consumers. So what you know until now is, so first of all, the home is again super important. I mean, if you're trying to buy a home at the moment in Germany or wherever you are, you see how important it is because the prices are ridiculous. In the home, the living room is really the centerpiece of action, the love, the hate, the joy, everything happens there. And within the living room, the big screen is the one where consumers go to in order to watch video. And finally, that big screen with all that video in the centerpiece, in the good mood room, is connected, heavily distributed across Europe and heavily connected. And that offers a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities. And that's where we dig deeper now with Sebastian to look into what are these challenges, what did we find out in the study, and how can you use that to your advantage?
Thank you. Does that work without the mic? Works. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for the context. Thanks for so many insights into your living room, Daniel. Hate, love, joy. A lot of that. Thanks. I will use the numbers, the figures, the insight that we have gotten from that very impressive research. So it's for download. You have seen the URL. You will see it later. You have it on your flyers, so don't forget to do it. But I will use that context to also give you some insights and solutions, but also with that we need to face some challenges that come with these new developments in the living room. Because that's a very nice story, but for advertisers and broadcasters, taking the broadcaster perspective, we, smartclip and AdConnect, belong to one of the largest media houses, broadcasting groups in Europe, and that whole trend and change of consumption, especially within the living room, and when talking about the big screen, about the TV, also means a lot of challenges. And I will guide you through some of these challenges and how we, as smartclip and together with AdConnect, try to tackle them, find solutions, products from an advertiser and broadcaster perspective. The first one definitely is fragmentation. I mean, you can already guess, it's not that we just use and consume linear TV. There's a lot of more happening on these smart TVs. Surprisingly and positive for us as being a broadcasting group, linear TV still plays a very big role on the big screen. But of course, there's these AVOD platforms, there's YouTube, there's broadcast VOD services, there's SVOD services. So there's a real, there's a true and challenging fragmentation of content, services, offerings, which on one hand means a lot of options for consumers and selection and varieties, which is great. That's what we all love. But from a broadcaster perspective, it's a challenge. So how can I reach these audiences that are scattered throughout these many platforms and solutions? And when we dig deeper into the service offerings, of course, it's obvious when we look into our top 10 European countries, there is the major international players that are driving the consumptions to their services and solutions. So these big SVOD services like Netflix, Prime, Disney, HBO, you name it, we all love them, we all use them on our nice smart TVs at home, are great, but that's not even advertising services. Okay, let's wait and see how and when Netflix and the others finally tackle the advertising solution. They will come up with something, so we are also looking very forward to that new change. But when we look into Europe and these markets, what we have also found out is that there is a lot of very impressive broadcaster VOD services like ITV in UK, TV2 in Denmark, Sisplay in France, Videoland in the Netherlands, and of course RTL Plus. Many of you are Germans and you might know RTL Plus as a nice BVOD service from RTL Group. And also from what we see and what we figured out in our research, there is a clear and true trend for broadcasters to heavily invest in these products. So they're all aiming for providing to you consumers, but also of course advertisers, one-stop shops to put all their contents into their streaming services and even form alliances between streaming services like we see in France with Salto TV. So there's even major broadcasters forming alliances to reach the scale that TV traditionally has within these BVOD services. But let's look into RTL Plus. What does that mean? Just as a sample in Germany. So you have all that nice stuff sitting on your RTL Plus service like linear live, BVOD, AVOD, SVOD. And that's where we come in as smartclip and tackle that first challenge, being the platform that solves that challenge from a broadcast and advertiser perspective, to be that platform, that tech solution, that ad tech, to provide 100% addressability throughout all these streaming contents and sources, which also includes linear live, which I will dig into later on. So that's the first solution, or that's the first and major important positioning of smartclip when it comes to these challenges from a broadcaster perspective on the big screen. But also when we look into consumption and business models and being a broadcaster, of course, there's the advertising piece. And that also leads us to the ad experience. How is advertising perceived on all these platforms? And of course, we all know, let's see us as consumers, there's also always some discussions about advertising. Do we like advertising, or do we perceive advertising as annoying? And we can face it. Most of the cases, consumers will respond to, oh, I don't like advertising, it's annoying. And that is, in essence, is very similar throughout all platforms and throughout all services where advertising happens. So advertising is perceived as annoying, is perceived as negative, and we looked deeper into what are the main pillars of pushbacks from advertisers. What are the main factors? Why don't they like advertising? So ads are disrupting. There's this ad break that annoys me like every 10 minutes. I see the same ads on and on. These ads are irrelevant. So that's some of the main challenges that we see and have figured out in our research, and of course that we are facing every day as being a media sales company. But looking into what we can do now with smart TVs and all that data and tech, we see a true opportunity by comprehensive use of data and technology to also tackle that challenge. And when we look back, and let's take the big screen view, and let's take the traditional linear view again, what has happened in the last 5 years on the big screen and traditional linear TV is groundbreaking, is a nice word, so I'll just use it now. There is these devices out there. They are connected, as Daniel mentioned. They are all smart, and they even come with industry-wide standards like HBB TV. And on the other hand, broadcasters, we are heavily investing in technology and creating new solutions and new innovations to tackle this. And of course, many of you probably are advertisers, are looking for solutions, and you guys are pushing us and the supply to provide you with new opportunities. Give me addressability, give me these ATV ads everybody is looking for and asking for. And that's what we are doing and heavily investing in. And using all these new standards, let's take HBB TV, there is stuff where we tackle the disruptiveness, the irrelevance, and the repetitiveness. And one nice example, which we have seen with a huge success, is the L banner, or as it is used as a product name in Germany, Switch in XXL, which exactly does that. It smoothly fits into your linear live TV experience. It's not interrupting as an ad break sometimes does. It sits within your content experience, and of course we attach data to it to make it targetable, and we deliver it on a one-to-one basis via our ad service onto the big screens within linear TV. And that's a video and a use case I, of course, would like to show you how it looks. It's a 10-second L banner as an example, which sits in the linear stream of TV, so you just watch TV, you switch back and forth, and then while you consume your content, we insert these kind of formats into the content stream, then they're going away and you're consuming your content. We're not overlaying any content, and of course we use targeting and data behind that. So very successful within the last 4 or 5 years. It's happening in Spain, France, Germany, Austria and Italy, and many advertisers already make use of it. Just one nice sample, what has happened in the last just 5 years. And of course, we also see that here in the room, there's more screens in the living room than just the big screen. There is desktop PCs, mobile phones, so I see many people using their mobile phones while I'm talking about great stuff on the big screen. But that's what's happening while you're consuming TV content. And also that is something what we are tackling by integrating the big screen into the user journey. So connecting the big screen with all the other devices that sit and are being used in a household. And with that, we use the smart TV and the smart TV technology to connect all the devices within one household. So we use the smart TV, the technology that sits in these households, use it as an anchor device, and based on that create household IDs, household graphs, where we connect on our platform all other devices that belong to one household. So there we use an algorithm, frequency of connections via the same Wi-Fi, to that one smart TV, which sits in your living room, is not being moved like all the other devices. So that's why it is our anchor device. We connect all the other devices and have these household graphs, exactly know how many other devices belong to that household, to that smart TV. And based on that, we can build use cases, advertising use cases, like retargeting and storytelling cases, where we then essentially can use traditional TV campaigns and achieve incremental reach on any other device, like on mobile devices, because we exactly know which household has seen which TV ad, which traditional TV ad, as it runs on a smart TV. We have that data, and also can then build cross-device storytelling use cases, where we then could prolong or do prolong the story that a TV campaign tells onto other devices that belong to that one household. So that's our cross-device targeting solution, also very successfully launched already in all the markets. As mentioned, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, very successful product as this truly dissolves the borders between traditional TV, that dumb TV that has been sitting there for decades, and now it's a smart TV, and now everything belongs to a digital user journey, which is highly attractive for advertisers to connect these worlds. And of course, consumers expect personalized ads. I've hinted to that in my earlier slides. Personalization is something which is embraced well by consumers, and looking into the data, 71% of consumers say, hey, yeah, I would like to see personalized ads, personalized brand communication from advertisers. By that, I would maybe perceive all these ads much less negative than I usually did it. And that also leads us, and there might be some question marks already in your heads. Okay, you were talking about the L banners, you're talking about the big screen. So what's happening with that traditional TV ad break? Yeah, and we can say the change of the ad break is in full swing. So we already customize, we personalize the ad break that was a one-to-many product for so many years, but now we can fully customize the ad break by using the data points we get from the smart TVs. There is behavioral data, so we exactly know what the behavior pattern on each TV is, what programs are being used, watched, at what time. Is that a prime time device? Is that a heavy viewer, or is that just a viewer which watches a lot of TV content during morning times? Device attributes, like obviously you digital guys might not be surprised. Of course, we can attach regional targeting now to TV campaigns. We can ingest real-time data from third-party sources, for example, stock market data, weather data. For additional targeting purposes, we can ingest social demographic data from first-party data, first-party sources like broadcaster VOD services, where you might need to subscribe, but also we mingle in panel data from AGF, Kantar, all these guys to add an additional social demographic targeting layer, and of course contextual data, applying data that is contextualized obviously to the content that is currently being watched. And with this, I've said it before, we fully customize and make the TV ad break fully addressable. Just a sample here. So every household then in future, and already today to a certain scale, receives a different ad break. So just some samples here. We exactly know that this TV sits in North Germany, watches sports programs, is a primetime viewer, as I've also mentioned before, and other devices sit in another region of a country like Germany, and by that the ad server decides to customize a fully different ad break. So that is obviously and probably something most of you, especially advertisers, are waiting for. When is that actually happening? When does the TV ads, as we know them for decades, become addressable? And we can say, yes, it's happening. It has already started actually even last year with first trials on RTL. It's happening now in Spain on Addressable Media through our technology. And with that, and with a, I wouldn't say summary, but with a statement saying and summarizing the slides I have just done, yes, TV advertising has entered into a new era and will be fully driven by digital tech in future. And that's what we stand for as AdConnect and smartclip, to really drive that change, to really be in the leading position to change the TV ad break and TV advertising business as it has been. But of course, we are a broadcasting company. TV advertising still has a big stake, as we have seen it in the numbers, but that is definitely something which is part of our vision. And Daniel, let me know what's next.
So what's next? I think what we can summarize is, if you look at the consumer, if you're looking to connect to possible consumers, the big screen with all the possibilities that are out there now is really what's important. Yet, and maybe you can click, What we also saw in that study is the consumption habits across Europe are very different, right? So if you're a big advertiser, if you're an agency trying to do a pan-European company, you have to take into consideration that there are different habits in all those countries. You have the live TV champions out of France, right, where the linear signal is really, and the live content dominant. You have our friends from the UK, where you see a platform like ITV Hub. I don't know if somebody knows, but this platform has 25 million subscribers, right? So they're really big. And then you see Spain, you see Italy, you see there are different habits across Europe. And that's why we, like from the broadcasting side or from the media company side, we took the decision to bring 3 companies together. Could you click? To form really a advertising sales house, a monetization sales house that holistically offers advertisers and agency access to the living room, whether it's through linear, whether it's through non-linear, OTT, BVOD, print even. And that was really the idea behind when we set out to bring these 3 companies, AdConnect, SmartClip, and IMS together. But as this is a master class, right, we hope that you paid a little bit of attention, because now the idea is, so who's a football fan? Who's watching the game tonight? Right? Who doesn't have a way of watching the game tonight? I hope you know the answers, because we do have 1-year subscriptions for RTL Plus, all right? Including tonight's game, which I hope everybody watches. And so, oh yeah, well.
Surprise, because I'm prepared for the match tonight.
But we're not handing that out.
No, that's mine. That's my personal.
Okay. We're not, even if
to
somebody's
get
very quick and no. So RTL Plus subscriptions. Now the questions. You do the questions.
Yes, I do the questions. So get your phones out. Go on slide.do. Type in the code for those who haven't done it yet. 661-4018.
How many do we have? How many subscriptions?
And type in your name. Ideally, first one. Thanks. We have 5 subscriptions, yearly subscriptions for RTL Plus. All the greatest content you can have in Germany is on there.
So 10% should get a subscription today.
Yeah, the
If I do the counting.
big. Andreas Meyer, I'm sure he has a subscription. Maybe he's...
maybe another Andreas Meyer.
Huh? Is Andreas Meyer in here? Maybe for those who are watching the live streams and will win, they don't get the prize. Only the room in here will get the prize. Why do you leave now? There's prizes.
There's not only football on RTL Plus.
Okay, we wait.
We have Sissy now on RTL Plus.
Sissy.
Yes.
Football.
Bachelor,
football.
Bachelorette. What else?
Love Island.
Love Island. My God. Who wouldn't miss that? So how does that work? You know.
Okay, we have 39 participants and we have the first questions. I just get it started now, so I've never done it. It looks good so far. How many, and you have paid attention, European households own a smart TV? And now we see the numbers going up of answers, 13.
Is something happening on your screen?
Yeah, it's happening. It's counting. 31 answers. You see it on the top right corner.
Ah, okay.
I don't know. And it's good to answer quick and fast, because that also pays to your ranking. Sorry, I didn't mention that. But we have 2 more questions.
Well, you have to be right and you have to be fast.
You have to be right and you have to be fast.
And the rightest and the fastest.
Let's have a look. 68% answered with 71% own a smart TV. That feels right to me, but let's have a look. The correct answer is 71%, so that's a good ratio here.
The 5% slept, I think.
We have a ranking. Michelle is leading 7 seconds for the first question, but there's no prize yet because we have a second question. What is the percentage of consumers expecting personalized brand communication?
It's a class, huh? It's classroom. You
Yeah,
have
that's
to
a
work
tricky one.
to get your RTL Plus subscription.
Quick, quick, quick. It's only 3 questions, so we are 36 people responded. 5, 4, 3.
What's RTL Plus Premium Duo?
I don't know.
I think it's even the fancier subscription, not the basic one.
40, how do I read it? 47% answered 45%. And the correct answer is 71%. Sorry. Many people didn't really pay attention.
That was in your part.
Because you're doing some stuff on your smartphones all the time. Sorry?
I think that was in your part.
That was in my part, yeah. And Timo is leading now. Okay, fingers crossed for all the people here.
It's the last one, right?
The last question. Which European sport event will be streamed live on RTL Plus tonight?
Oh my God.
Okay, that's an
If
easy
it's
one.
not
But I had to do that because...
If it's not 100%.
Yeah, because
what do we do
Daniel
then?
and myself, we are both Eintracht Frankfurt fans. We just figured out last week.
Yeah.
Are we still in time?
Do we take the jet then after this and go to Sevilla?
Yeah, we need tickets, by the way. Anyone here with tickets? Okay, 37 answers. 100%, yes.
Finally.
Okay.
So
Timo is back.
Timo?
Who's Timo? And we have the prizes. You have the prizes?
Yes, I have it. Should I?
Okay.
Or
Yeah, do it.
You do it? Timo gets a full year subscription of Sissy and football. Here you go. Congratulations.
Und ich verteile die Trostpreise.
So who's Katja? Katja. Well. So Katja, are you promising us to watch the game tonight?
Ich habe hier noch Trostpreise. Who didn't take part? Lanyard, smartclip lanyards, beautiful ones.
Steven. That was
you
were
look
the
desperate.
one that didn't have a. Yes, perfect. You can watch it on any device.
Lanyards.
Anni? Who's
Sorry.
the next?
Wenn ihr mich überhaupt wollt.
Who's Anni? Ah.
Sind die schön genug?
So what's the other team
Du
playing
brauchst
against Frankfurt tonight?
Oh, sorry.
The other team. Yeah, right. Well, enjoy everything else but football on this platform. Yeah, exactly. There's Sissy. Who's the Froni?
Congrats, Froni.
Well, they're leaving because they didn't get one. I understand.
Follow the instructions on
the
on the voucher because there's something you can do wrong and
yes,
it should be easy.
And the washing machine you buy with it is really good.
Okay.
So
that was it for today, right?
Do we have questions? I mean, we have time. We can do questions. If somebody has questions, we can talk about football or Sissy or whatever.
Any questions?
I think.
But you already got your prize. You're asking questions now.
Somebody comes with a micro, I think, because we have that stream thing going on, so they understand you. I mean, we understand you, but technology and stuff.
Ausmachen?
A question.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, because I don't have any pre-information, so I just wanted to ask what is SVOD, AVOD, BVOD, and HBBTV, because I really haven't heard of that at all previously.
Probably the best questions because we jump in here and put all these abbreviations.
Well, it's a masterclass, right? What is he? He's waving. Do you answer the question?
Sorry, very good questions. Sorry again for just putting up all these abbreviations. SVOD, subscription video on demand service. For example, Netflix is a typical SVOD service. AVOD is advertising video on demand like RTL Plus is. HBBTV, that's the most clunky term you currently have in the TV industry, which means hybrid broadcast broadband TV, which means it is the combination of digital technology and traditional linear TV, which makes all the stuff happen that we have just been showing, like the L banner or the full addressability of the ad break. Welcome. Any other questions? One more.
I have a question concerning the cross device.
So speak.
You say you base it on the Wi-Fi or the household, and do you take into account that there's more than one person?
Yes, of course. Very good question. Yeah, because the smart TV is not an individual device. So when we use the cross-device technology, of course, we also have to put some algorithm behind it so that we can, as best as possible, also know what kind of consumer or what kind of target group is in that living room or in that household. So what we, for example, can do by the viewing patterns, knowing how many people live in that household. So it's pretty easy, ask our tech team and data team, to figure out how many people live in that household. It's also, for example, doable to see, hey, there's kids in the household, is family, by the viewing patterns, by the devices, at what times the devices are being used, for example. But a very good question, yeah. Ich muss immer näher kommen, weil sonst höre ich nichts. Ja.
Just wanted to ask, how do consumers know that their ads are personalized? So how, for example, my mother doesn't know how if she's got personalized content or not.
Yeah, ideally, or they probably don't know, and that's also the beauty of a good addressable TV solution, to not to change the viewing consumption. When we speak about the TV ad break, of course, the viewing consumption should stay as it is, should smoothly be happening, but of course, your mother might perceive these ads more positive because they are more personalized. But in fact, you don't actually see it, and from a broadcaster and also advertiser point of view, you shouldn't see the difference in the end. But of course, I mean, of course, when you buy a smart TV, maybe that's also a data consent question. So usually that comes next. Then, when you buy a smart TV, you have to give your consent that you are connected to the internet, that you might be sharing some personalized data. Or you can always say, hey, decline, I don't want to share any data, and then you don't get any personalized ads, and we wouldn't be able to do that addressability as we have shown here. Ja, das kann ich jetzt. Ja, aber das jetzt.
Okay, is it me? Yeah, okay.
Muss wieder näher kommen.
Do you have any data about how many people consent to this, what you just said? Or
Yeah, the consent rates on smart TV is actually very high. It's above 90% because of that fact. Users go to the media market, the retail shops, of that reason. They want to buy a smart TV, they want to use Netflix on their big screens in the living rooms. So they are pretty aware of the fact that there is some smart stuff happening and that your internet is connected, and you then give your consent. And also on the broadcast signal, when we mingle the broadcast and the digital signal via HBB TV, there's also high consent rates, because also here what we see, users don't make the difference anymore. Is that content traditional linear TV? Is that BVOD? Is that tablet consumption? You're pretty used to the fact that there's these, yeah, let's face it, annoying overlays that we have to put into the content consumption for legal reasons, and you just click OK and mostly give your consent. But also very important to add to this, we only collect data that is legally allowed. So we don't collect any personalized data. We can go down to regional level. We know where these TV devices sit, but also back to the point, do we know any personalized data on the TV? No, we don't, because you don't really type in your name before you use that TV. More questions? Yes?
Thank you very much. With HBB TV being the classic reach driver for classic addressable linear TV, ATV Spot, as well as switch in What do you think is the reach driver for addressable TV in the near and in the far future? Is it digital ad insertion, or what do you see there?
Now I need to, 7-1 Media, nice. So we, kannst du die durchgeben? Dankeschön. Vielleicht kann sich jeder eins nehmen. Yeah, I mean, the reach driver will be the ad break from a product perspective, and that's where broadcasters are heavily investing into the fact and also the challenge that the scalability of the ad break is not by 100% yet. Because there's also a very sustainable and healthy traditional TV business behind it. So you have to take very careful steps to increase the reach of addressability within the ad breaks. But definitely, and that's why I've also put it on my slides as a vision, that's not my personal vision. That's also when you look, for example, into RTL Group yearly statements, there is clearly communicated the vision that the TV advertising business will be entering into a new era at a certain point of time, which means addressability. So everything is going into the direction. They're investing in companies, in tech, in products that will make that available. Your question will be, okay, when is that happening? Tomorrow, December 2024? It's happening, and you also know that from our colleagues from ProSieben, we are doing everything that allows, let's say, the business models to increase the share of addressable TV ads on TV. And also, on the other hand, they're investing in OTT services, BVOD services, because that's the other trend that consumers are moving into the usage of these OTT services, these digital services on their mobiles, tablets, desktops, and so on. More questions? Okay. Da hören. Dann muss ich mir das so aufsetzen. Kannst du hören? Ja.
I just have one more question. You probably already answered at the beginning, but I missed it maybe. Where do you get your data from? Like, do you work with Samsung, or who do you work with?
That's also the beauty of HBB TV, hybrid broadcast broadband TV, an industry-wide standard, which is in control of the broadcasters. So the broadcasters that make use of HBB TV, that sits on the devices. So there is an industry agreement between the TV industry and TV manufacturers like Samsung, LG, Sony, and all the others, that they have to implement HBB TV, but HBB TV is under the control of the broadcasters. Initially, HBB TV was meant to be, or was meant to enable interactive content services, like today we would call it a red button service or catch-up services. So that was the initial idea, but on top of that, companies like ours build products like Addressable TV on top of these services that makes use of that standard, makes use of that technology. So the data that we can access to is the broadcaster data. Only they can use it, and only they can use it again. There was another question? Yeah. Ich muss dann auch hier.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to know, won't that change the whole process of selling ads for TV? I mean, what I thought is, like, if you don't have personalized ads, the sales is pretty easily because you sell the same ad slots for everybody. But won't it change the whole process of selling ads? How is it done now completely, if you have personalized ads?
I missed the first part of your question. So the buying process is...
Yeah, how do you, when you sell at time, I suggested it would be pretty easily right now because everybody knows which time slot he's buying. But if you do it like on a personalized basis, isn't it getting much more complicated in this way?
Yes, very good point, because the beauty of traditional linear TV advertising is the standardization. It's very scalable. It's a super smooth process, and now the digital guys like us come into place and say, hey, let's make it addressable, and suddenly things get complicated. And in fact, that's one of the complications. I mean, how does that work? how many impressions do you serve to this to this TV device, how many impressions to this. You need a much larger volume of ads behind it on our ad servers. And then there's also the measurement questions. How do you measure that? There's a lot of different answers, and there's a lot of different topics in that. And it's a lot of complexity, but that's also something our platform needs to solve for, to actually make that happen and have these answers to it.
On top of that, I think it's important to understand that the world is pretty different across Europe. Huh? So if you look at a country like Italy, you have a usage of linear TV per day of, what was it, 4.5 hours, 5 hours. So I think we are at a stage where we see that the big screen, that's where the magic happens. And now we need to see, okay, what does make most sense, right, for advertisers? What makes most sense for the consumers, right? Is it a linear TV ad, traditionally bought, traditionally played out, right? Where you get a lot of reach, right? And there's not such thing as waste contacts, to be honest, if you look at it. But the balancing, I think that's where everybody, the agencies, the advertising sales houses, the clients are currently testing what is the right balance for me to manage the reach, the linear signal, the new possibilities through digital. So it's going to be pretty exciting in the next 5 years, definitely, because we're going to see much more learnings and much more data and much more understanding of what's the right balance of using these different methods to connect to consumers in that living room. But for us, I think in that study, the main point was really to see, okay, this place, this space is something that is everybody. If I ask you about your living room, right, or somebody else to describe your living room, instantly you have pictures in your head. Everybody has a relation to it. And that's really where we think advertisers can capture a lot more of these connections to consumers, right? Because that's the place where a lot of good things happen. And now you have these new possibilities beyond the linear signal to reach them in the living room. And that's really something that we saw across Europe that offers a lot of opportunities for advertisers and brands. Some more questions? Who wrote the meeting minutes of this class? The minutes, you know, like, isn't there one pupil always like writing the summary in the class? No, but do we have more questions, or there's one? Well, now we have to figure out.
Hi.
Wait.
No.
This one? Yes.
So, does it work?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for my English. I hope you will understand me. My question is, how good or how fast is this cross-advertising ads working? Because what I see, even here in the master classes, people sit there watching a big screen, but also are on their phones swiping through Instagram. So is it possible to show one ad on TV and show it in the same second or minute on the screen on the phone?
It's cross-device. How good is it?
How good is it? That was the.
And how does it work?
How immediately can we retarget a TV ad? So that's basically the question. So yeah, very good question. The concept is not really to say, okay, that user didn't watch obviously the traditional TV. It's more for advertisers to have the ability to know, okay, we exactly know how many people have been watching that TV ad. So we have a true reach of TV advertising exposure. And then on top of that, we can, during a TV campaign, during a TV flight, which might take 1, 2, 3 weeks, then either use, as I've mentioned before, the storytelling idea, the storytelling concept to add or to increase the brand messaging, or also during that campaign flight, increase the net reach, because we also know which TV devices were not exposed to that traditional TV flight. So the idea is not always to have that immediate reaction, okay, now you didn't see it. It's more on a long run, on a campaign flight period to use that cross-device concept. Okay, I don't see any raised hands, and I think time is over, right? No? Oh, we have 30 minutes. Oh, that's what you mean. We can do 30 minutes of Q&A, and but if all questions are answered, class is over, good to go. Let's fly to Sevilla or open RTL Plus and watch the football tonight. Thank you.